Hey, how's everybody doing today? Hotep. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. Welcome to the African History Network show, an abbreviated edition, right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the future of radio, WFDF. It's Sunday, August 11th, 2019, and we are live. We're broadcasting on Facebook Live. They still have the Major League Baseball game playing on 910 AM, the Superstation. But hey, I'm here in the studio, so we're going to go ahead and broadcast. We have an abbreviated show. I was at my 30-year class reunion picnic today for Cass Technical High School, class of 1989. So shout out to all the Cass technicians from the class of 89 that were there and those that could not make it there as well. Well, look, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. It's been a few weeks since I've been on. I've been in and out of town. How you doing, Al, Shirley? How's everybody doing? I've been in and out of town. I've been speaking in different cities. I was in Atlanta last weekend on the Black Agenda Tour. The Black Agenda Tour is coming up again August 24th in Brooklyn, New York. So we'll talk some about that. On tonight's show, I want to deal with a few things. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein mysteriously dies in prison after autopsy death. After autopsy, that it was revealed this evening that the autopsy has been done, but after autopsy, death awaits further information. Okay, so it's very strange in the death of Jeffrey Epstein. We know he had information on powerful people that were involved in having sex with women and possibly underage girls as well. He dies in prison. We got the news yesterday, Saturday morning, August 10th. That early Saturday morning that he died in prison, and this was after he had been on a suicide watch, taken off of a suicide watch. I have a clip from AM Joy to share with you on that. And we know that just this past Friday, which would have been August 9th, we know that there was a treasure trove of records released in his court case. Okay, Washington Post has a good article about this Friday, August 9th, 2019. She was shaking. Court filings describe system Jeffrey Epstein allegedly used to procure girls. She was shaking. Court filings describe system Jeffrey Epstein allegedly used to procure girls. Read that article from the Washington Post. We're going to post these links here for all of this at the end of the broadcast. When we're done with the broadcast, we'll post the links for all of this. Okay, so we'll talk some about Jeffrey Epstein tonight. Then also we know that Hidden Colors 5, the release date is August 12th, 2019. You can order Hidden Colors 5 right now at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And when you order Hidden Colors 5, you're going to get 3 digital download presentations from myself. Hidden Colors 5 is The Art of Black Warfare, The Art of Black Warfare, from director Tariq Nasheed, and it features Chuck D from the legendary hip-hop group Public Enemy, Professor James Small, hip-hop artist and actor Ice-T, Professor Kabahaya Watakamene, David Banner, Michael Jai White, actor and martial arts expert Michael Jai White, Damon Dash, Scheherazade Ali, Brother Polite, and more. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So we'll talk some about that as well. Now, we saw 2 mass shootings this past week. Now, I've been doing a number of Facebook Live broadcasts. Go to our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. The African History Network. Okay, I'm sorry, Michael Imhotep on YouTube. Go to Michael Imhotep on YouTube, and then also you can go to the African History Network as well, our Facebook fan page. Check out my broadcasts I've been doing. Since I haven't been on here, I've been doing a number of Facebook Live broadcasts, and we put them on our YouTube channel, okay? And I just did one dealing with the El Paso mass shooting, okay? So we saw El Paso and we saw Dayton, Ohio. They were within 13 hours of each other, and they were very disturbing. But the one in Dayton, Ohio, we know that the killer said he was targeting Mexicans. He was targeting Mexicans. Donald Trump is coming under more scrutiny because his rhetoric is being linked to the killings in Mexico. We know that the killer was using language that Donald Trump uses on a regular basis to refer to Mexicans, and he talked about an invasion as well. He talked about an invasion. If we look at this article from the New York Times, so much has been going on. So you got to make sure you follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. Those who follow me know that I broadcast regularly where I get into this information. Follow us on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep, on YouTube also. If we look at this article from the New York Times, how the Trump campaign used Facebook ads to amplify his quote-unquote invasion claim. Quote-unquote invasion claim, okay? We know that the killer in El Paso is actually pronounced El Paso, okay? The killer in El Paso, Texas, referred to a Hispanic invasion, and he is echoing the language of Donald Trump. But there's a history of U.S. law enforcement killing Mexicans, okay? There's a history of that. There's an article from the dailymail.co.uk that we posted today, and it's gotten hundreds of likes. The Lone Star State's bloody shame: how Texas Rangers murdered thousands of Mexicans over 10 years from 1910 and were hailed heroes as state representative suggests history is repeating itself. The Lone Star State, the state of Texas, the Lone Star State's bloody shame: how Texas Rangers murdered thousands of Mexicans over 10 years from 1910 and were hailed heroes as state representative suggests history is repeating itself. The El Paso shooting has echoed Texas' dark chapter of La Matanza, Lamatanza, La Matanza from 1910 to 1920. During La Matanza, Texas Rangers and white civilians murdered thousands of Mexicans and Mexican Americans. The violence broke out following the Mexican Revolution and the influx of Mexican immigrants into the United States. Texas Ranger Division was largely responsible for the deaths of 5,000 Mexican Americans during La Matanza. Some 300 murders took place in the Rio Grande Valley during the 1915 massacre alone. From 1848 to 1928, there were an estimated 571 lynchings of Mexican Americans. Now, we know from 1882 to 1968, there were 4,743 lynchings in this country. 1,297 of those lynchings were of white people. Okay, the majority, about 72%, were of African Americans. 581 of those lynchings took place in Mississippi. Mississippi has the largest number of lynchings that took place in this country. 581 in Mississippi. But Texas has a large number of lynchings as well. If you go to NAACP.org, NAACP.org, this is the official website of the NAACP. They have a page here that deals with lynchings. Okay, just click on search and click on lynching. All of this history is tied together. History is repeating itself. If you look at the link, if you go, I did a broadcast a few days ago. I forgot the name of it, but one of the things I talked about is how the language that Trump uses to demonize undocumented immigrants, to demonize Mexicans, things like this, is some of the same language that was used to dehumanize enslaved Africans, to justify their mistreatment. They were referred to as savages. They were referred to as animals. Trump uses the language of breeding. Well, African women, many African women were used for breeding purposes, as breeders. If you look at the language that Trump uses to dehumanize undocumented immigrants or immigrants in general, and there's a real problem with, in general, now this no offense to some of our white viewers, there's a real problem with white people calling other people undocumented in this country, okay? And when Texas, California, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, all that was part of Mexico. Mexicans they didn't leave. They've always been here. I mean, since this has been the United States. And we know that Native Americans were here. We know that African people were here for tens of thousands of years before Native Americans as well. Okay, read The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. But if we look at this page dealing with the history of lynchings from history.com, official, not history.com. This is NAACP.org, okay, NAACP.org. This is the official website of the NAACP, National NAACP. They talk about from 1882 to 1968, 4,743 lynchings occurred in the U.S. Of these people that were lynched, 3,446 were black. African Americans accounted for 72.7% of that 4,743. 1,297 were white because the Ku Klux Klan, other organizations like the Klan, the Black Legion, the Knights of the White Camellia, they were also targeting white Republicans because they saw them as the enemy as well. They saw them as the enemy of the South because we know that during the Civil War, the North, that was largely the Union was largely, represented like the Republican Party. Lincoln was a Republican, okay? So when they break it down by state, Mississippi had the largest number of lynchings, 581. Georgia was second, 531. But the state of Texas was third with 493 lynchings from 1882 to 1968, okay? Well, when we go and we look at, okay, according to their record, according to their count, it's 531. But when we look at, so when we look at the article from the dailymail.co.uk dealing with the Texas Rangers being responsible for the murder of 5,000 Mexican Americans during La Matanza, they look at the years from 1848 to 1928. From 1848 to 1928, there were an estimated 571 lynchings of Mexican Americans. A probe called the Canales, Canales, investigation was opened into the brutality of the Texas Rangers and state police against Mexican Americans in 1919. Well, but charges were eventually dropped. Well, we know 1919, we are commemorating the 100th year anniversary of the Red Summer right now, 1919. More people learn about the Red Summer. We know July 27th, that was the commemoration, the 100th year commemoration of the death of Eugene Williams, who was a 17-year-old African-American boy who was swimming in Lake Michigan. And he was stoned to death because he accidentally crossed the imaginary line that separated the black beach from the white beach. That kicked off the Chicago race ride in 1919. When we look at the Red Summer, and this is one of the things I'm going to talk about Saturday, August 18th and Sunday, August 19th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. So we know that the African World Festival is coming up, okay? It is the 37th Annual African World Festival, August 16th through August 18th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit. I will be doing presentations on Saturday, August 17th and Sunday, August 18th, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. inside the museum in the basement in the lower level, classroom number 106, both days, same time, same classroom, both days, classroom 106. We'll put the information on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I'll be dealing with black migration, 1619 to 2019. Black migrations, 1619 to 2019. The birth of a nation, the Red Summer 1919, and the Detroit race ride of 1943. So when we look at the Red Summer, and this is free and open to the public, so come on out. There'll be about 125 vendors there. I have my DVDs inside the classroom, so you can purchase my DVDs there. I'll have Hidden Colors 5 also. You can also order Hidden Colors 5 from our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, so when we look at black migration 1619 to 2019, okay? Black migrations was this year's theme for African American History Month, okay? Black History Month. So a lot of people don't know this. There's an annual theme each year for African American History Month. The celebration is not designed just to recycle the same 15 to 20 sanitized Negroes every year. and do the same thing, talking about runaway slaves and slave this, slave that. No, there's purpose. The annual theme is not just designed to be celebrated and studied during the month of February, but all year. Okay, so this year, with this being the year of return, 2019, the year of return, and commemorating the 400th year anniversary of Jamestown, Virginia, August 20th, 1619. All right, now, and those 29 Africans coming into Jamestown, Virginia. Now, even though that did happen, if you've been watching my broadcast, you know that African people have been in this land we call the United States of America going back at least 51,700 years. So we have to read The First Americans Were Africans documented evidence from my brother Dr. David Imhotep, who documents this. Even though we have been here for tens of thousands of years, and even here before Native Americans came into existence, that does not mean that the transatlantic slave trade did not happen. That means you have to understand a chronology of history for the last 50,000 years to understand how the transatlantic slave trade happened. And to do that, you got to deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors. Okay, and these are some of the things that we deal with in my my new online course that starts up Thursday, August 15th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, class number 1, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, this is an 8-week, 16-hour online course. We deal with thousands of years of history. And we do the class live, and all the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. So we'll post the information for that. Be sure to register for that online course. As soon as you register, there's about 36 hours of bonus content you can watch. And it is, you can watch from around the world. It's an 8-week, 16-hour online course, okay? And we deal with all this information chronologically. All right, so when we deal with black migrations, okay, we're not just talking about the transatlantic slave trade, all right, and the forced migration of African people, but we're looking at things like the Great Migration of 1915 to about 1970, when you got 6 million African Americans who migrate from the South up north and out west, and they're looking for a better way of life. And this great migration is totally going to change, totally change the world. Okay, we just posted a link there, Linda. People are asking for the link to register for the online course. You can go ahead and register tonight. As soon as you register, you can start watching. And you can watch at work tomorrow. Just don't, you know, get mad and cuss somebody out. But the information, I don't think is going to make you mad. It's going to empower you. But let's look at this, right? If you go to asalh.org, 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 that's the official website of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, asalh.org. Now, this is the organization that is the governing body for African American History Month or Black History Month. This is the organization that Dr. Carter G. Woodson co-founded September 9th, 1915, okay? So for this year's theme, ASALH announces 2019 Black History theme. And when you go to their website, this information is there. Black Migrations. ASALH's 2019 theme, Black Migrations, emphasizes the movement of people of African descent to new destinations and subsequently to new social realities. While inclusive of earlier centuries, this theme focuses especially on the 20th century through today. The 20th century through today, beginning in the early decades of the 20th century, African American migration patterns included relocation from southern farms to southern cities, from southern farms to southern cities, from the south to the northeast, the Midwest, like Detroit, like Michigan, and west, from the Caribbean to U.S. cities, as well as to migrant labor farms, and the immigration of noted African Americans to Africa and to European cities, such as Paris and London, after the end of World War I and World War II. Such migrations resulted in a more diverse and stratified interracial and intra-racial urban population amid a changing social malaise, such as the rise of the Garvey movement. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, his birthday is coming up August 17th. The Universal Negro Improvement Association, founded in 1914 in Jamaica. Then he comes to the U.S. in 1916 and starts setting up chapters, okay? This all deals with that great migration. We have the Nation of Islam, founded, I think, 1930, right here in Detroit. We have the Moorish Temple of America. We have all these movements, all these organizations that are founded, and they expand as African Americans are moving from the South, moving up north, moving into Gary, Indiana, Detroit, Michigan, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, etc. Okay, you have the rise of the Garvey movement in New York, in Detroit, in New Orleans. You have the emergence of both black industrial workers and African American entrepreneurs, the growing number and variety of urban churches and new religions, okay? New music forms like ragtime, blues, jazz, white backlash, as in the Red Summer of 1919. I did a video a few days ago dealing with the Red Summer. Go watch that video that I did. It's on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. IMHOTEP. It's on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. The Red Summer of 1919, the blossoming of visual and literary arts, as in New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Paris in the 1910s and 1920s. You have the Harlem Renaissance. You have all these movements as African people move. They have music, they have art, they have dance, they have literature. So the Great Migration changed this world. We see race riots break out, like the Detroit race riot of 1943. We see race riots break out in East St. Louis, Illinois, 1917 race riot that led to the silent march in 1917 of 10,000 African Americans marching down Manhattan, marching down the street of Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, demanding an anti-lynching legislation from the federal government. As African people move, we change the course of history. This is what Black Migrations is about. This is the theme for this year. But what happens when you don't have purpose when you celebrate Black History Month? You recycle the same 15 to 20 sanitized Negroes every year, and people don't want to go to those celebrations. The theme, Black Migrations, equally lends itself to the exploration of the century's later decades from spatial and social perspectives, with attention to new African Americans because of the burgeoning African and Caribbean population in the U.S. Those are our brothers and sisters. Northern African Americans return to the South because of gentrification. We're being gentrified out of Detroit. We're going down to Atlanta. We're being gentrified out of Chicago. We're being gentrified out of Washington, D.C. We're returning back down South. Before the Great Migration, 90% of African Americans lived in the South. Now many of us are going back into the South, and we can change the state legislature as we move into Georgia, as we move into other southern cities. We can take over the state legislature. We can take over the governorship. We can change through the electoral process, and African Americans exercising our right to vote, voting these jackasses out of office who are doing us harm. We can change the course of the legislature. We can do the same thing in Florida. This is why when Amendment 4 passed in November 2018 in Florida, and it restored, Amendment 4 was restoring the voting rights to 1.4 million ex-offenders. Then the state legislature in Florida, what did they do? The Republican-dominated state legislature, they then passed a bill that said before ex-offenders could get their voting rights restored, they had to take care of all their fines and things like this to reduce the number of ex-offenders who can vote, because they know that many of them, if not the majority, will vote these Republicans out of office and vote for Democrats. And they know that would change the total balance of power in the state of Florida. This is why we have to understand this. So when I'm on the Black Agenda Tour with Michi X and Jice Johnson, and we're going to August 24th, we'll be in Brooklyn, New York. August 3rd, we'll be just at Fin and Feathers in Atlanta. You know, the presentation I deal with is called 6 Principles of Political Self-Defense, Understanding How Laws and Policies Impact the Economic Condition of African Americans. And we have that full DVD presentation at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. When you order the Hidden Colors documentary from AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you get 3 digital downloads of my presentations. 6 Principles of Political Self-Defense is one of the presentations that you get. Okay? And that presentation is going to blow you away. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll post the link again also. So as soon as you order Hidden Colors 5, you can start watching the digital downloads. You get, the link. You get the links automatically. You can start watching the Hidden Colors. You can start watching the digital downloads of my presentations. Okay, so African Americans, Northern African Americans return to the South because of gentrification, racial suburbanation, inner city hyper-ghettoization, health and environment, civil rights and protest activism, electoral politics, mass incarceration, and dynamic cultural production. That is this year's theme for African American History Month, not just to be studied and celebrated in February, but the entire year. So my presentation on Saturday, August 17th, and Sunday, August 18th, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. in classroom number 106 at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History is dealing with Black migration, 1619 to 2019. The Birth of a Nation, the movie The Birth of a Nation, that debuted February 8th, 1915, which totally flipped this country upside down, caused race riots in the streets. African Americans were protesting the movie because we knew it was detrimental to our existence. That movie glorified the Ku Klux Klan, and that movie rejuvenated the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan founded December 24th, 1865 in Pulaski, Tennessee. Later in the same month that the 13th Amendment was ratified, about 6 months after the Civil War ended. And the movie glorified the Ku Klux Klan and showed the Ku Klux Klan as being the heroes. Okay? So this movie caused race riots in the streets, and we had enough sense to protest the movie because we knew it was detrimental to our existence. You're talking about a time, 1915, we got rampant lynchings taking place in this country, and nobody being arrested, nobody being held accountable. Okay? Today, a minstrel show like Empire is on television, and we don't protest it. Not only that, the NAACP had protests of the movie The Birth of a Nation in 1915, but today they give image awards to the TV show Empire, which is like the birth of a nation of its day. It's like a minstrel show. Okay? So, we'll have the flyer at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, dealing with Black migrations and dealing with my presentation at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. We'll also have the information dealing with the Brooklyn, New York, August 24th, the Black Agenda Tour. Okay? That information is coming as well. We have to get that flyer up also. And let's see, how's everybody doing? Also, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show. Paypal.me/the AHN show, okay? You can donate there. That helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, etc. All right, now, let me jump into, let's see here. I'll do a separate broadcast on Jeffrey Epstein. We'll talk about it a little bit, but let's do this here. Here is this morning on AM Joanne Reed, okay, and she talked about this. She talked about this article that came out this morning, right when she was on the air, from the New York Times, and I read some of this article from the New York Times. The name of this article is called "Before Jail Suicide, Jeffrey Epstein was left alone and not closely monitored." Okay, August 11th, 2019, New York Times. Before jail suicide, Jeffrey Epstein was left alone and not closely monitored. Okay, let's listen to this clip.
I'm worried about in investigating the death of Epstein and the circumstances surrounding it. And then you have the President of the United States tweeting conspiracy theories, linking it to a former president of this country.
What he's doing is dangerous. He's giving life to not just conspiracy theories, but really whipping people up into anger and worse against different people in this country.
Okay, Cory Booker is green. Two of the Democratic candidates for president calling out Donald Trump for pushing a conspiracy theory about the alleged suicide of accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, deflecting from the obvious question about how an inmate who's that high profile could die while in the custody of the federal government, ergo the Trump administration, Back with me, Karine Jean-Pierre, Dean Obadala, Ellie Mistal. I was just saying to my producers in my ear, but I'll say it to the team here, and I'm going to go to you on this first, Ellie. The New York Times has a story that just came out a few minutes ago. It says the following: Epstein was left alone and not closely monitored before jail suicide. Here's a pull from it. Jeffrey Epstein, the financier who hanged himself, they're saying allegedly, or whatever, in a federal jail in Manhattan, was supposed to have been checked by guards every 30 minutes. But that procedure was not being followed the night before he was found, a law enforcement official with knowledge of his detention said. In addition, the jail had transferred his cellmate and allowed Mr. Epstein to be housed alone in a cell just 2 weeks after he had been taken off suicide watch, a decision that also violated the jail's normal procedure, the two officials said. You are an attorney? You're a defense attorney?
Corporate litigator.
Okay, but as a person with an LLB, does this sound normal to you that a federal institution of incarceration would take somebody who was alleged to have tried to commit suicide, who, per Carol Lennig this morning, his family said, no, said he was attacked 2 weeks ago. But you still had him on suicide watch. You take him off suicide watch. You don't give him any guards. What would you think about that?
Pay attention.
Somebody allowed this to happen. And the only person with the authority to allow this to happen goes up through the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Right.
The Federal Bureau of Prisons reports to the Department of Justice.
Who runs the Department of Justice?
The person who runs the Department of Justice is U.S. Attorney General William Barr,
Just checking.
who has done nothing since he got into office but appear to be a compromised stooge for the Trump administration.
Do you trust William Barr to investigate this case, sir?
It is not just that I do not trust William Barr to investigate this case fairly. It is also that William Barr has done nothing to make me trust him. So when people are going, look, I know that people are going to say that I'm wearing the Reynolds wrap around my head, and I understand the problems.
Reynolds wrap would look really weird.
You know, with where we're going, right? But my point is that instead of being angry at people who are treating this like a mystery, right? We need to understand that the federal government, to this point, has done nothing to engender the trust of the nation. And this is what happens when you have a government that nobody can trust.
Yeah, and Dean O'Donnell, also a lawyer. Those of you who know
All right,
him
guys.
just as a comedian.
So we'll post this link here.
An attorney.
Attorney General William Barr.
We just heard Beto
We'll post
O'Rourke
this link
in an
here.
interview with him. He also said he does not trust William Barr. There's a general sense among a lot of people that there's not a lot of trust there.
Okay, Attorney General William Barr has the authority to make those moves. The Bureau of Prisons reports to him, okay? Bill Clinton doesn't have the authority to make those moves, even though Trump wants to retweet conspiracy theories to take the pressure off of him, all right? Hidden Colors 5 releases August 12th, 2019. Order it right now at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Hidden Colors 5, the Art of Black Warfare. The Art of Black Warfare. In the final installment of Hidden Colors 5, the critically acclaimed Hidden Colors documentary series. In this installment, the film explores the history of warfare as it relates to global black society. Director Tariq Nasheed breaks down the film into 7 chapters that examines the ways the system of racism wages warfare from a historical, psychological, sexual, biological, health, educational, and military perspective. All right, you will automatically receive 3 digital download presentations from myself, Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show, with each purchase of Hidden Colors 5. We also have a Hidden Colors 5 family bundle pack where you get all 5 installments of Hidden Colors and 4 of my DVD presentations for $99 as well. Okay, featured in Hidden Colors 5, Chuck D of the legendary hip hop group Public Enemy, Professor James Small, actor and hip hop artist Ice-T, Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, actor, producer, hip hop artist David Banner, Michael Jai White, actor and martial arts expert, hip hop mogul Damon Dash, Scheherazade Ali, Brother Polite, and more. Here is the trailer for Hidden Colors 5.
When somebody else knows more about yourself than you know of yourself, then you have volunteer slavery all over again.
The real reason why I believe black people truly won't fight back with white folks is because of religion. in our mind, we keep forgiving white people because in our head, subliminally, we see Jesus.
What's going on with the
The
game?
thing about being conscious and truthful,
Oh, game's
you
over?
got to be tough.
Oh,
You got to
shit,
be
I
ready to
didn't know
get
that.
violent because people are always going to try to take advantage of you. Because if you're winning, they're losing, and those guys cheat.
I would have gone on the air, but they still doing a rap.
Well, no. It just finished like literally.
You got to think that you're just going to have an opinion without some muscle.
Okay.
The entire civilization is built on keeping the black man and the black woman apart.
Right now, every white population in the world is at minus birth. Every single one, all right? What are they going to do then? They need our bodies.
In the 60s, they banned martial arts. They had registration of people's hands and feet because it was something they didn't quite understand. And plus, when people came from the armed forces and started using karate, it was dangerous at that time.
You know, we're suffering from like high blood pressure and swollen ankles and everything. Like what fight are we gonna take on? People be like, yo, black power, put your boots on this white man's neck. And I'd be like, man, you can't even strap your boots because your ankles are swollen. You can't even wear boots.
In neighborhoods that are a little more upscale, financially affluent society, white, Jewish, etc., they are infused with fertility clinics. While in our societies, the ones that do not have that,
are they doing a post-game wrap-up?
No, they just finished that.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
Processed
next
foods
show's
have
gonna
to
be
be
live in a few
preserved.
moments here.
Okay.
And you only preserve that which is dead.
the fear of
What's up,
the
man?
little white girl taking
All right,
care of
guys,
her
we gotta get out of here.
kids on the block post.
But order Hidden Colors 5 from our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, okay? Right now, it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.